The war is intensifying. Russia and Ukraine both unleashing deadly strikes. Ukraine has launched deep drone strikes into Russian territory. Russia is targeting Ukraine with missiles, drones. In Sumy, a Russian drone struck a bakery where traditional Easter cakes were being prepared. In Kharkiv, a Russian missile killed one and injured 82 others. While Russia may have initiated the attack, the question that we're asking tonight is, did China provide the metaphorical gun? And we're asking that question because of a big claim made by the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. What has he said? Zelensky has accused China of fueling Russia's war machine. He has said that China has been secretly arming the Russians against Ukraine. You heard that right. What does Beijing have to say to that? A categorical no. So who's lying? What's going on? Is it China? Is it Ukraine? Remember, just last week we reported that Ukraine had reportedly arrested Chinese nationals fighting for the Russian army. Remember, in the 3 years of the war, China has denied supporting its close ally Russia in the Ukraine war and has even proposed a plan to end the war. Could there be any merit to Zelensky's allegations is the immediate question. Let's just try and unpack this for you. On Thursday, during an explosive news conference, Zelensky told reporters that Ukraine has intelligence indicating that China is supplying artillery and gunpowder to Russia. However, he did not clarify whether he was referring to artillery systems or ammunition.
I think it's important information. It's not very pleasant. We finally received information that China is supplying weapons to the Russian Federation, and we are ready to talk about it in detail. Today, we have general information from the security service, from intelligence about gunpowder, artillery.
Now, these allegations are likely to strain ties between Kiev and Beijing. They are already tense due to Ukraine's revelation about the arrest of Chinese nationals fighting for Russia. Remember, China officially maintains a neutral stance throughout the 3-year war. And previously, Ukraine has appealed to China to use its influence over Russia to promote peace. Well, after Zelensky's allegations, China has dismissed the claims as political manipulation. You have to listen to this.
China's position on the Ukrainian issue has always been clear, and it has been actively committed to stopping the war and ceasefire and promoting peace talks. China has never provided lethal weapons to any party in the conflict and has strictly controlled dual-use military and civilian items. Ukraine is very clear about this and has publicly stated that most of the parts and components of the weapons imported by Russia come from the United States and other Western countries. China firmly opposes groundless accusations and political manipulation.
Now, it is a fact that Russia and China have been strengthening their defense ties ever since they declared a no-limits partnership in February 2022. That was when the Russian President Vladimir Putin visited Beijing less than 3 weeks before the Ukraine war started. Also, in the past 3 years, the US has repeatedly accused China of supporting Russia's war efforts in Ukraine by supplying so-called dual-use goods, including microelectronics that could help make weapons. But China has maintained that it has not provided weaponry to any party, and that normal trade with Russia should not be interrupted or restricted. So then what really should one make of Zelensky's claims? It's hard to tell. What he has done, though, is impose sanctions on 3 Chinese companies today. The list of sanctioned companies, including Russian companies named Beijing Aviation and Aerospace Jiangui Technology Company Limited, Ruijin Machinery Company Limited, and Zhongfu Shenying Carbon Fiber Shining Company Limited, all described as registered in China. It did not give out details of why they had been added to the sanctions list, which bans companies from doing business in Ukraine and freezes their assets there. And Ukraine exported $8 billion of goods to China in 2021, mostly raw materials and agricultural products, while it imported from China just under $11 billion, mainly in manufactured goods, according to the Ukrainian government. What we also know is that China has proposed to end the war. In fact, in 2023, following several meetings between Chinese and Russian officials, China released a 12-point peace plan to end the Ukraine war. It covered basic points like respecting the sovereignty of all countries, ending hostilities, protecting civilians, prisoners of war, promoting post-conflict reconstruction. Most importantly, it opposed the threat or proliferation of chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. It came to nothing, but not for the lack of trying. So then the question is, what would China get out of supporting Russia's war efforts? It's clear that China aims to present itself as a future peace broker, and hard to buy considering what's doing around Taiwan. Still, if what Zelensky is saying is true, it would actually change things as far as the conflict in Europe is concerned. And Zelensky has promised to reveal more next week. Needless to say, we will be watching those developments very closely. And the US State Department has accused a Chinese satellite company with strong links to the Chinese military of actively supplying critical intelligence to the Houthis. That intelligence, according to US officials, is helping the Houthis launch targeted strikes on American warships and international vessels navigating the Red Sea. The satellite firm in question, Changguang Satellite Technology Company Limited, or CGSTL, is allegedly strongly linked to the PLA, and this company, according to US officials, has been relaying high-resolution satellite imagery directly to the Houthis, adding that they have raised this issue with Beijing on multiple occasions. The US State Department spokesperson, Tammy Bruce, said the satellite data provided by CGSTL has been directly supporting the Houthis' operations against the United States. Listen to this.
We can confirm the reporting that Changguang Satellite Technology Company Limited is directly supporting Iran-backed Houthi terrorist attacks on U.S. interests. Their actions and Beijing's support of the company, even after our private engagements with them, is yet another example of China's empty claims to support peace.
U.S. officials quoted in a report by Financial Times further claiming that China has not just ignored America's concerns, rather it has practically endorsed CGSTL's operations by failing to take any action whatsoever. The Chinese embassy in Washington said they were unaware of the situation and hence had no comment on the matter. Now, these developments coming at a time when tensions between the US and China continue to escalate on multiple fronts. Washington and Beijing are already locked in a trade war, intensified after US President Donald Trump levied a massive 145% tariff on Chinese imports earlier. But now with America accusing Chinese satellites of helping their enemies on the battlefield, this rivalry is quickly moving beyond just economics. Shifting focus for now, Israel has confirmed that it will not allow humanitarian aid to enter Gaza amid a renewed military offensive that has turned the Palestinian territory into what medical groups are calling a mass grave. Building on it, the heads of 12 major aid organizations have now raised alarm that the humanitarian aid system in Gaza has been facing total collapse since Israel blocked aid supplies starting the 2nd of March. Since March 2, aid convoys have been halted entirely. The UN's humanitarian office reported that no supplies have reached the Palestinian territory in over 6 weeks. In an urgent appeal, the chief executives of 12 major aid organizations released a joint statement urging Israel to let them do their jobs, which is to provide the war-affected Gazans with the necessary amenities for survival. In fact, the top NGOs have also dubbed this as one of the worst humanitarian failures of our generation, quote unquote. A new humanitarian access survey of 43 international and Palestinian aid organizations working in Gaza found that nearly all of them, almost 95%, have had to either suspend or dramatically cut services since the ceasefire ended a month ago. Israel has vowed to maintain its blockade on humanitarian aid unless Hamas releases all the remaining hostages. In fact, the Israeli defense minister declared that withholding critical aid is to be used as a pressure tactic against Hamas, which might force it to surrender. And who is paying the price for all of this? The people of Gaza. Families living in the rubble of their destroyed homes. People facing acute shortage of food and water. This is pushing them to the brink of famine and malnutrition.
Well, water is very scarce here. We rarely get water here. We live near the university, so we come here running to fill up a gallon or two of water. One truck comes for the entire university, for displaced people who live in university. The water is very scarce.
People are left scrambling for basic healthcare and medical supplies.
People are in need of everything from shelter to food, medicine, medical supplies, clean water, and clothes. And so now that we've gone more than 6 weeks without having any aid enter, the limited supplies that we were able to stockpile during the ceasefire have been rapidly depleted.
Gaza's health ministry says over 50,000 Palestinians have been killed and over 110,000 injured since Israel's war on Gaza started. However, it's not just the people of Gaza who are bearing the brunt of all of this, but also humanitarian aid workers. As per the United Nations, more than 400 aid workers and over 1,300 health workers have been reported killed in Gaza since October 2023. Recently, 15 Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers were killed, whose bodies were found buried in a mass grave, reportedly. Aid is crucial for the people of Gaza, and with the existing stocks of fuel, food, medicines, and other essentials depleting, what lies ahead for the people of Gaza?